Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gap Major and this is Admiralty Reports. Admiralty Reports is your gameplay submissions with my commentary, and today we have a submission from YTBrandonABC, and he is playing in the Tier 7 United States battleship USS Massachusetts. It's a Tier 6 and 7 game of domination on neighbours. On the enemy team we have a Benson, a Zara, an Otago, a Siegfried, an Edinburgh, a Cleveland, a Nagato, a Vladivostok, and an Odin. So two 16-inch gun battleships, one 12-inch gun battleship, and then one 15-inch gun cruiser, two 8-inch gun cruiser, and two 6-inch gun cruisers. So not much of a bad matchup, and only the one destroyer as well. Spawning on the right flank, and he's making a move up, seeing the Cleveland and taking an opportune volley at that Cleveland there. Now this submission today doesn't have audio. I think Brandon had his mic active during the game, and so the gameplay audio has been removed prior to me downloading it, unfortunately. So we will have some nice tasteful music in the background as he plays. Again, taking advantage of this broadside Cleveland. Now Cleveland's going to be quite amusing because she does have slightly thinner armour than the Baltimore, so there's a potential actually this could overpen. And there you go, so we're getting one overpen there, unfortunately. Now, although the friendly team is capping Charlie, Brandon is going to be really focused in this initial part of the game. He's already got one fire, and if I was him, I wouldn't be too reserved on those repair parties. I'd start using them as soon as you see that you've got enough HP to start actively using one. I would start using one, recognising that this Cleveland is changing his velocity, so aiming slightly towards the front, and there you go, getting a nice hit. 5 again over penetrating hits though, and looks like an enemy Otago is now rushing up on his starboard side as the Cleveland starts to sulk in behind the island. 2 fires on Brandon at the moment, and so I'm back down to 1, so he's losing quite a lot of HP, and he's back up to 2 fires. Now this Otago, this is what's quite surprising here. The Otago doesn't actually seem to notice he's here or use his torpedoes at all. You can see the launchers aren't actually even turning out anyway, so Brandon's able to just line up his 16-inch guns, which are purely going to overmatch that broadside of the Otago, get himself first blood and devastating strike. However, he's only just started to use his first of his 4 repair parties, and he got down to about 10,000 HP, so he's had to make a sacrifice of about 50,000 HP in order to gain 50,000 damage. He now needs to kind of break off because he's got the Nagato here. We know the Cleveland's still kicking around. We saw the Fritz Siegfried as well. Also got the Edinburgh. So all these ships are capable of really piling on the damage. Interesting one here though is that Nagato is a broadside on. So whether we can take advantage of that, it'll be interesting to see. That Edinburgh is breaking off from line of sight, so he's not going to be able to line up any shots onto that. And looks like the Siegfried's getting that cheeky volley of AP out over that island. So time to sulk off, go lick our wounds, use some repair parties, and try and get enough HP that we can come back into this fight, I think. Vladivostok over there, but thankfully Vladivostok is out of range. Zara could be a potential issue, you never know. So as he's training his turrets around to his starboard side, still got his rear turret online, but he seems to be re-angling his ship. I can't really blame him. Friendly Vakrulin shoots past. I should mention on the friendly time there's a Vakrulin, a Zara, a Chapayev, an Otago, and a Malfi, a Wichita, a KGV, Bismarck, and obviously Brandon in his Massachusetts. So let's see what's going on here. Edinburgh might be able to get our rear turret fired out, but whether it's going to be able to do much damage to the Edinburgh will be interesting to see. Oh, get an assist there, quite nice. That takes our damage amount up nicely. Probably time to use that 3rd repair party. There's no point being shy, especially when you've only got 13,000 HP, I'd say. Now, he's in a nice situation here where he's able to use this island to try and block off the majority of the incoming fire. The Edinburgh is now gone as well, which is going to buy him some breathing space. However, he's still got a Siegfried and a Nagato coming up from behind him. So this is an interesting one. He makes an active decision to not use B turret. So he's going to try and engage the Nagato only using Y turret and A turret, which do have slightly superior, obviously Y turret, the Nagato is definitely within the arcs, and A turret has slightly better arcs compared to B turret, and therefore he's able to bring A turret online without having to expose himself at a great angle, I guess you could say. So working over the Nagato here, but also the Siegfried is sailing broadside on as well, but probably worth taking out the Nagato. The Nagato is probably going to be the biggest threat because she has 16-inch guns in the long term of the game, I guess you could say. However, we can find ourselves potentially able to get some rounds into the side of the Siegfried. I wouldn't blame him for having a go at that as well. Nearly time to use our second repair party, and pushing forward in order to use this island to try and negate ourselves from the Siegfried. I think that should be enough to make sure the Siegfried can't touch us. Getting another volley downrange on the Nagato. Let's see what we can do with that. I think it all falls a bit too short on that Nagato. I think Nagato changed speeds. So as always, down in the description will be the commander build and the ship modules. Commander wise, he's using Lv, which is rank 12 at the moment. Skills, he's taken on Not 1 for Nuisance, Porcupine on second full, and Master Mechanic. Inspirations wise, he's using Cunningham level 11 Legendary 1 and Von Hipper level 16. So focusing a bit on accuracy and a bit on secondaries, getting a volley out on the Zara as the Zara smokes up, and getting himself 2 citadels, a devastating strike and high caliber. Very nice, taking himself up to 153,000 damage. Modules wise, it probably doesn't surprise you that he's obviously gone down that kind of secondaries and accuracy build. So he's taken secondary battery module 1, damage control module 2, target acquisition module 1, and artillery plotting room module 2. So as we close up to the edge of the island, probably time to use that second repair, third repair party, as you've only got 2 remaining. Wouldn't be shy. Again, you're down to only 11,000 HP, so the sooner you can chain those repair parties off, the sooner obviously you can get another one in. Vladivostok, broadside on. Let's see if we can get a nice volley into the side of that. Now with the Russian battleships, obviously they do have that slightly exposed citadel aiming at the waterline there. Let's see what we can do. Will RNG be favourable to us? 1 pen, 2 shatters, 1 bounce on a broadside battleship. Typical. And now the Siegfried is going to come rushing around the corner. Thankfully, you've got 10 seconds until your main battery is reloaded, but it's not going to be a surprise what the Siegfried is going to be trying to do. She's obviously got torpedoes, and while that launcher is looking at you, you can see it there. Now, could have maybe led a little bit more with that volley and potentially got the Siegfried, or hurt her a little bit more, but we all know what's going to be coming at us, and there they are. There's the fish. Are we going to take 2, or could we get away with just 1? Ooh, getting away of only taking 1. However, the Siegfried again swinging around. She's going to be bringing that other launcher to bear, and you've already lost, it had B turret incapacitated. Here come those torpedoes. Not a lot we can do there, and unfortunately, that is Brandon's game all wrapped up. He's managed to get himself to 161,000 damage, and there's 6 minutes of the game left. But let's see how this game goes. Now, you may have already spotted it, but there's also a CC in this game, so we're going to be jumping on board with PG Rapids. And while we're watching PG Rapids, who's got the Amalfi in a Black Friday shadow camouflage, which does look very tidy, I have to admit, we'll have a little bit of a chat about the Massachusetts. So Massachusetts is a South Dakota class battleship equipped with 16-inch guns. Unlike the North Carolina class battleship, the South Dakota class were always mostly intended to carry these 16-inch guns. However, there were preliminary designs in order to carry 14-inch guns. However, due to the escalation clause of the Second London Naval Treaty, which if Japan did not sign up to it, then the main gun caliber of the battleship could be increased from 14-inch guns to 16-inch guns, and obviously the Americans kind of took this into account in their designs to make sure that should Japan not sign on, they could swap out the quadruple 14-inch gun turrets to treble 16-inch gun turrets. Something that couldn't be done on the King George V class battleships. So obviously a nice little advantage that the Americans did have on their last treaty-bound battleships, because obviously the Iowa class were no longer bound by the treaty. Now, Massachusetts did serve in both the Atlantic and the Pacific theatre, as we have covered previously. She did serve in the Atlantic and did take part in the Battle of Casablanca, and then she also served in the Pacific theatre, where she served at the Gilbert and Marshall Islands and went on through to the Philippines campaign and operations off of Japan. She also is now a museum ship, one of the many American battleships which was saved. Now, I think this is partially due to the way that the Americans kept their battleships in reserve a lot longer than some other nations, and also kept them in better nick in reserve, and therefore when she was put up for scrapping, a group of her old crew managed to raise enough funds in order to actually save the ship, and she is now present at Battleship Cove, Fall River, Massachusetts, which also features a number of other ships. It also features a Gearing class destroyer, Below class submarine, a couple of PT boats. It's also got part of a Baltimore class heavy cruiser, so probably a very nice place to go visit if you ever are in the area. So here we are on the end screen, 161,000 damage from 33 hits and 7 citadels and 2 fires, plus 71 secondary battery hits. Get himself 2 kills, First Blood, High Caliber and Devastating Strike. Now, there isn't an economy screen with this one, but we can see that he's been able to earn a total of 603,000 credits. That doesn't include the reduction due to ship service cost. So if we chuck that in and we assume it's about 130,000 credits, that would take him down to somewhere in the region of about 470,000 credits. So all in all, that's actually quite a nice profit from a tier 7 game, so you can't really complain about that. Going on to the team's score screen, and we can see that he's come in top of the board with 2,690 ship XP. PG Rapids coming in second, fair enough. I think it's a well-deserved place on the end table, and although I wouldn't say CCs are guaranteed to be good players, I mean, I'm a CC, let's be honest, but a CC does play the game enough that sometimes you can, you know that they're going to be a decent, reasonable player, I guess you could say. Although if you see me in the game, I should be pretty bad, really. But all CCs are different. I think if CCs had to prove that they were good at the game in order to become a CC, I don't think I would have had a chance. But yeah, it is what it is. And Brandon, very nice submission, much obliged, and a nice effort in the Massachusetts. Hopefully the background music hasn't been too bad, and I'm sure that the missing sound of guns booming hasn't detracted from it as much as I initially anticipated, at least I hope so. And so if you have enjoyed it, feel free to give it a thumbs up. As always, down in the description is the command build and the ship modules used by the player's submission, along with the email address if you want to send in any of your own game captures, and also the link to Patreon if you want to support the channel on Patreon, as it is going to stay a non-monetized channel. As always, I'm the Galloping Major, and back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the Galloping Major. Get out of the way there, you fellows, unless you want me to run you down. I guess this is the life. Now, hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the Galloping Major.